So example 4.3.4, application problem. So the World Health Organization keeps track of how many incidents of leprosy there are in the world. So using the regions in the World Bank's income groups, one can ask if an income level and a WHO region are dependent on each other in terms of predicting where the disease is. So data on leprosy cases in different countries was collected for the year 2011, and a summary is presented in table 4.3.1. Okay, so in the table here, we've got, again, so this is a contingency table from back in Chapter 2 when we're learning how to summarize data. So we have the WHO region. Okay, so here is a qualitative variable that has 6 different values: the Americas, Eastern Mediterranean, Europe, Western Pacific, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And then we have World Bank Income Group, which in this case is also a qualitative variable. So income would be quantitative, but here they're describing income groups in words as high income, upper middle, and lower. And so that qualitative variable also has 4 different values. And then in this case, an individual in the study is someone with leprosy. So they took all the leprosy cases, so someone with leprosy, and they basically asked them 2 qualitative variables. Okay, which of these income groups were they in, and which of these regions did they live in? All right, so for part A, we want to find the probability that a person with leprosy is from the Americas. So let's just define a person with leprosy from the Americas. Let's call that our event A. So the probability that that event happens, okay, if we're randomly selecting a person, then all of these 222,545 people have the same chance of being chosen. So we're going to go back up to the study and we're going to find the total number of Americans out of the total number in the study. So that gives us 36,817 over 222,545. And if we compute that on the calculator, that gives us about 0.165. Okay, so there is, so we do an interpret here, there is about a 16.5% chance that a person with leprosy, because that was our individual for this particular study, lives in the region called the Americas. All right, part B says to find a probability that a person with leprosy is from a high-income country. So I don't know, maybe we'll call that H for high income. So in this case, the probability that they're from a region of high income, we go back up to our data table and we find all of those with high income, which was 264, again out of the same total of 222,545. So 264 out of 222,545. And if we compute that on the calculator, that comes out to be about 0.0001. All right, so again, if we interpret this number, there is about a 0.01% chance, so teeny, teeny, tiny, all right, so we're going to go back up here. This actually, let's see, we'll just erase this on here. Got carried away with my zeros here. This should actually be 0.001, which then also changes this value here. So there is about a 0.1% chance that a person with leprosy lives in a high-income country. So remember, percent literally means divided by 100. So if we take 0.1 and divide it by 100, we're going to get 0.001. So these two numbers, 0.001 and 0.1%, are equivalent. And part C says to find the probability that a person with leprosy is from the Americas and a high-income country. So again, if we want the probability that they're from the Americas and a high-income country, we would go to our table and find people who are from the Americas and a high income. Okay, so that is 174 people. Out of the total, that was 222,545, which has a decimal that is about, which gives us approximately 0.0008. So again, if we interpret this, we can say there is about a 0.08% chance that a person with leprosy, again, that is our individual from the study, lives in a high-income country and in the Americas. All right, so now part D is one of our conditional probabilities. So I'm going to first erase where we kind of scribbled on here from the last problem so we don't get ourselves confused. All right, so for part D, it says to find the probability that a person with leprosy is from a high-income country given that they are from the Americas. So we know, so given they are from the Americas. So we know that the person we have is from the Americas. So I've highlighted in the table here the region that we need to focus on because we know we have one of these people. And we want the probability that they were from a high-income country. So we want the probability that they were from a high-income country, but we know, so given that, they're from the Americas. So again, our restricted sample space here is the people from the Americas, which there were 36,817 of those. And then just in the highlighted region, we want to see how many of them were high income. So we're not looking at this 264 column total. We're only looking at ones from a high income region in this restricted sample space of the Americas. So that's 174. Okay, so we're going to get 174 out of 36,817. And so this becomes about 0.0047. So if we interpret that, we can say there is about a 0.47% chance that a person with leprosy, again that's our individual in the study, is from a high-income country, given that they are from the Americas. So in this case, we know we've got an individual with leprosy, and we have this extra piece of information that they're from the Americas. The only thing that's unknown is whether they are from a high-income country or not. And so the probability that they're from a high-income country knowing they're in this group of people from the Americas is 174 out of 36,817. All right, so part E says to find the probability that a person with leprosy is from a low-income country. Okay, so in this case, we just want the probability that they're from a low-income country. So if we come back up to our table, low income, there are 27,923. Out of the total number in the study, which was 222,545. So this is about 0.125. So again, if we interpret, there is about a 12.5% chance that a person with leprosy is from a low-income country.